What's going on, Knuckleheads? GKM Gaming here with another LEGO Legacy Heroes Unboxed video for you. And today is a little bit of something different. I am counting down my most wanted figures in LEGO Legacy Heroes Unboxed by faction. Now, disclaimer, this is the GKM Gaming's most wanted figures. This is not related to the top 10 most wanted collectible figures poll that I am currently conducting right now, and I have had over 200 participants in that survey. And if you want to be someone who participates in that survey, the link will be in the description. You've got some time left to get me your most wanted collectible figure, which I'm going to give you my most wanted collectible figure in today's video. Make your voice be heard, and I've honestly had such an amazing response. I might try to do this with every faction. I might do this with new factions. I love, you know, as much as I love doing this because this is my favorites, what I want, but I also love hearing what you guys want, and I think that that's a really interesting video. And I actually talked to some of the devs at Gameloft, or the mods, whatever you want to call them, on Discord, and they are going to take a look at the data that I've collected. So that's really cool. Your voice is actually going to be heard, and your vote is going to be seen by Gameloft. But anyway, let's get into it, and let's talk about my most wanted figures for each faction. So, you guessed it. First off, we're going to start with a little bit of Castle. And you know what? Castle's great. Actually, especially since Ghost came on the scene, I think Castle is making a comeback with Magisto's Tower. I see a lot more people using at least like mixed Castle teams, like a little bit of Castle with ninjas, a little bit of Castle with Spooky. I mean, there's now 4 Spooky Castle figures. So honestly, like a Spooky team is pretty much a Castle team anyway. So people, when they think Castle, they think like King's Court. But really, I mean, it's all the Spooky is also Castle too. You can make some really awesome teams with some great synergies. The sets are amazing, especially Magisto's Tower for Castle. But you know what? Castle really needs a different type of attacker, right? Vert is a hard hitter who does some interesting stuff. Storm is a tanky attacker who you can get payback on her, and she could really build up those stacks of courage and get a great AoE. Ghost is... I love Ghost, one of the best figures in the game. He rips. But they need like a different, they need just an attacker who just dishes, you know, who just dishes. Like Ghost is great. He dishes. A lot of the dishes he gets are because of the debuffs and because of the crits. I'm thinking somebody who would also have the wanted tag. That's right, baby. I'm thinking of Forestman. And I chose this particular Forestman from the Dark Forestman line because I love the look of this minifigure, right? The classic Forestmen are great, and honestly, if they put a classic Forestman in, I'm with it. But look at this minifigure, right? He's got a vest, a sleeveless vest, right? He's showing off the guns. And this minifigure, he's got his quiver, so you know he's got a bow attack. They've actually shown him with the long chrome sword before and a shield. So he could have a sword and shield basic attack, right? So just like his basic is like a melee attack. And I would love to see some sort of like, but like he's an archer with a bow. So I'm thinking something like maybe with a trick shot type thing where he can disarm someone with a bow shot. Would be really cool. Something that gets around taunts, right? Like he ignores taunt. He can target a minifigure regardless of, he doesn't have to target the taunt. He ignores that buff, right? I think that would be a really cool special for him, like a special that ignores taunt, maybe a special that does disarms, kind of like a trick shot. So maybe it could be a trick shot where like it has a chance to either do disarm, stun, or some, you know, any type of like, or dizzy or clumsy. So it's like a 25% chance to, or you know, we'll get one of those 4 debuffs, and I think that would be something really cool. It adds a little bit more you know, a little bit more debuffing to Castle, which is always good. Debuffs are like probably the best part of the game. And a trick shot would be amazing. It's a way to get around taunt. He's kind of like a sniper, like, they taunted. That Scarlet just taunted. Redbeard's safe. Nope. Not from Forestman, bro. Sniping him, like going right around the taunt. Really, like, honestly amazing. Maybe even something to, maybe like a special to target figures who are stealth. You know, maybe it could do something like that. You know, so you could target, you ignore taunt and you could target figures who are under stealth. And it doesn't have to be a high damage. It could be like, hey, this does 60% damage, but it goes around these things. It's just a little chip shot. It's just a way to get around those things and finish people off without having to do an AoE and proc a Jester Go-Go type thing or accidentally kill a Basil. You know, some AoEs are great at sniping people, but they're not the end all be all. And, you know, I love this figure. I love the way he looks. I love the facial hair. This guy, how they don't have a Forestman in this game yet, this is what's really missing from the Castle faction. Honestly, I looked at the Castle faction. Everything else missing is just kind of like a repeat. Like the Armored Knights, like, okay, we kind of have it with Princess Storm. We have the gowned princess with Verna. We have the king. We have the Dragon Knight. We have the wizard. But this is the only, like, there's no Forestman in it. And this is great. And it would actually expand that wanted tag, giving another much needed attacker to that faction who I really, really want to see get fleshed out a lot. Because I think it's a really cool tag. And already 2 of the better figures in the game are in it. And I think Chuck is not a terrible tank if you have some synergy with some other units. Something that really buffs up that wanted tag. All right, next up. Ooh, am I using Chill as a faction? Not exactly. I'm talking about my most wanted collectible figure. And you know what? A tank would be great. Now, I know that there are collectible tanks, right? And I'm not talking about trying to build for the collectible faction. I'm talking a tank who's a magical tank, right? We got no tanks with the magical tag. But you know what else we don't have with the tank tag? Chill. So I'm talking a collectible figure who's a tank, who's got the magical tag, and he's got the chill tag. And I'm sure you've already guessed it. Ho, ho, ho. Santa Claus is coming to town. That's right. Santa is my most wanted collectible figure. It might just be that time of year. You know, Christmas is coming. You got the Christmas music flowing. It's the holiday season. Everyone and their mother was saying, all right, Gameloft, we know you're going to put out a Santa Master Fig, a Master event right around Christmas with Santa, right? And we were going to get Santa. He was going to be that tank that Chill needed, that tank that Magical needed, right? And it was going to be a whole holiday vibe. Of course, dev team switched over. You know, we're kind of a wash this holiday season. It's sad. It's honestly the first, since global launch, holiday season that we've had with the game. And it stinks. We're not really getting anything special. What I would really like to see is kind of like what they did with the Ghostbusters takeover, a holiday takeover where we get a Santa Master event. We get a brick paste with an elf, or maybe the elf and a gingerbread man, and maybe like the toy soldier as Unboxed, or the toy soldier as how about an Unboxed that also gets a node, right? So we do the Unboxed event, and then after the Unboxed event, they get a node in the Monolith Waste or something. Something, a holiday gift for us all. Or you could even do toy soldier in the Monolith Waste, Gingerbread Man Unboxed, the Holiday Elf Brick Paste, and the Santa Master event. And of course, you need Chill to unlock Santa. I thought that would have been a really cool thing for them to do. It still could be a cool thing for them to do next holiday season. You know, we had the team changeover. But yeah, Santa is my most wanted collectible figure. And we'll see later on when we get to the next video going over that poll that I did if Santa is in everyone else's top 10. And we'll see how many votes Santa gets for that. All right, that's my boy Santa. Next up, we got, bam, Space. And you know what? Space is hurting. Space is a very difficult faction to use for anything other than Arena. They're not bad in Arena, right? But they're really hard to use for their Gorwell's Great Escape event. Because, you know what? They need a tank that tanks, right? Locust is a tank, and he taunts, and you know, if you're running him with the Ice Station guys, sure. But they need a tank. They need a tanky tank that's tanky. Locust is not tanky. But how about another alien, right? Somebody else to kind of go with Locust, who really, for all intents and purposes, is a support, and Gorwell. And how about somebody with the techie tag, too? Because you know who really needs a tank? Techie. But one thing that Space particularly needs, and Techie, on top of a tank, they need a healer. And what if we got the Zetaxian Overlord, and he was a tank who also did a little bit of healing? Picture like a Basil the Batlord, or a Jester Go-Go type. But here's what I'm thinking. The alien tag is very, very anti-taunt. So what if he had a passive that every time you attacked, anyone on your team attacked an enemy figure who had taunt, it AoE healed everyone on the team. Even if it was just for 10%, 15%. You could even go as low as the Dr. Kelvin 5%. Something, so it's going to heal the space units, but it's also going to punish those who are using taunt, right? Because that's what the alien tag has always been really about, is punishing those who use taunt. And maybe even do a little bit of a bonus heal. So 5% AoE, 10% for all techies. Give a little bit of a bonus heal to the techie team, because they kind of need it, right? Because if you have a tank that also can heal and, you know, can really soak up a lot of damage with these good tags, I think you're really going to have something special. And I think Techie is on the cusp of being one of those meta teams, especially when Gens comes out in like 2025 when we get raids. But I think Techie really needs a figure like this. This was one of my favorite sets growing up, this UFO series. A lot of people didn't like it. I loved it. I thought the sets were so cool. Amazing stuff. We have Locust, who's a Zetaxian already. And now we have the Zetaxian Overlord. I just think, and what a cool name, the Zetaxian Overlord. That's fantastic, fantastic stuff that you're going to get from this unit. And next up, no, I'm not talking about bringing Lego racers in. I'm talking about my most wanted pirate. Now here's the thing. We've gotten pretty much every type of Imperial. We've gotten every type of pirate, right? And the pirate, like, you know, we could get just another pirate, but we have a lot of pirates. I'm thinking what we really need is another tank, right? Because, you know, they have Valiant, who's okay. He's great with Imperials, and he's good with pirates. They have Scarlet, you know, one of the best tanks in the game. So why would they need another tank? Well, maybe another type of tank that does a little bit of healing or something. I'm not thinking they need the tank necessarily for pirates, but I'm thinking this unit could also be magical. And that this could be a magical tank that the magical team could kind of dip into and use, but would still have the pirate tag because it comes from the pirate set. And this is one of my most wanted figures. I am talking King Kahuna. This was the coolest. The Islander sets, maybe it's just, maybe I'm just showing my era, but the Islander sets were fantastic. And King Kahuna was one of my favorite. I mean, look at him. He looks so cool, right? He's got the helmet, which he just looks like a tank to me, right? And, you know, is he magical? I don't know. I mean, who knows? They're Legos. But I definitely could see them giving him the magical tag and the tank tag. We don't have any Islanders, right? So this is, I mean, if there's something from the pirates we need, it's an Islander. Just like we need a forestman from Castle, we need an Islander from pirates to kind of round out and say, hey, we've given you at least one of every type, and we can start moving on. I don't want to just keep throwing more Castle, more pirates, right? But we haven't got an Islander, we haven't got a Forceman. Let's get those things and then move on and start getting some really cool stuff and start getting some new factions going. King Kahuna, love this unit. I think he would be awesome. Not really sure what I would have him do, per se. Probably some magical type synergies. Maybe have him cast some voodoo spells. You know, he's a pirate. A pirate unit, so probably would be a lot of debuffing type stuff. Maybe picture him like the Willa of pirates. Not exactly like Willa, but something cool like that. I think that would be really awesome. Next up, City. Right, City is in dire need of a rework, but they're also hurting. Right, they only really have 2 attackers. Right, and that's Ash, who honestly I think top 10 attacker in the game. Ash is amazing, and the very underrated businessman Trent. Right, but they need an attacker that brings a little bit more to the game. Right, and yes, while I think they need an attacker who is also a role model and has that courage thing, this unit just didn't strike me as a role model, but I thought it would look super cool. We got the jet pilot, right? Imagine giving him an ultimate where he just calls in like a giant 747 and it crashes into the enemies or something like that. Or he builds a giant plane and flies it in the air and then crashes into them and then like ejects last minute and he falls down on a parachute. How cool would that be? Right? He just needs to be like smashing with AoEs, big ultimate. Picture like the Kai of City. That's what they need. Another, like, if somebody who Ash can just like we ganging it. Like, they're going in. They gang up, they do it. That's what City needs, a big time attacker on top of some reworks. They do need reworks, but just give them a strong attacker, somebody with that over high 3000s attack who's just gonna hit and just smash people's face in. Maybe make him like some sort of a crit machine. I mean, this guy, he looks kind of angry. He looks like he can kind of throw out some crits. Right? This was probably the most boring of my most wanted. But, City, it's like, you're literally getting just like City stuff. Like, oh, do we want, the local butcher? Like, we literally have a chef. So they're not the most exciting units. But, I mean, I do like City. I think they're cool and fun to use. I think the pilot is something that a lot of people are really looking forward to getting. All right, last but very not least, I saved it because I know so many of you have been calling for this figure. And you probably already know who it is. We're talking about the most wanted Ninjago figure, not just for me, but for everybody else. We know Ninjago needs a tank besides Lloyd, a taunting tank, right? Somebody who Lloyd throws it under stealth and Lloyd's like getting smashed, and this guy can just throw up a taunt and save Lloyd's life, which we see Scarlet do so many times. Obviously, we're talking about somebody who's one of those Spinjitzu guys, get all those extra synergies. And what if I told you they could also justify the spooky tag? I'm talking Possession Armor Cole. Now, some of you might be saying, spooky tag, what's that about? So in the show, Cole actually becomes like Ghost. He becomes a ghost, he gets an incorporeal form. Now, I thought they did it as a minifigure in one of the sets, but it turns out they actually didn't. They just have him have the possession armor. So I kind of can, based off of the show, justify giving him the spooky tag. I think that is fitting. And, he gives a little bit of an alternative to spooky figures. Like, yes, they have Basil as a tank, but, diversity is great. And anytime you can throw someone multiple tags, it's pretty cool. And it kind of goes with the whole Ninjago thing. Like, they can fit into a bunch of other teams. They do have some plug and play. You have Zane, who fits into about 3 different teams. You have Jay, who fits into a couple teams. Wu and Lloyd fit into a ton of teams, and Garmadon as well. Obviously, he's the rock ninja. He's got to be tanky. I think speed down on a lot of people, like maybe an AoE that does speed down, similar to Slimer's. I guess you don't want to have the same exact thing. But something that does speed down, I think an AoE speed down would be pretty good. Dizzy is something you could justify. You hit somebody on the head with a rock. He's just, I think he should be strong, and I think he should be a debuffer because Ninjago doesn't really have a way to get debuffs out there. And you have a tank that can kind of do those things. It's not bad at all. And somebody who can just slow down the opposing team, because right now the way to beat Ninjago is speed. And there's not many ways to outspeed them, but I'm telling you, when you can outspeed them with Master Wu, Lloyd, Magisto, Verta, you get a Garmadon assist in there, and you take out Kai right away, Ninjago crumbles without that extra big, that big damage from Kai is really like a big part of the Ninjago team. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for today, Knuckleheads. That is my top 10, or my top 10, my most wanted in each faction. Top 10 is coming at the end of the week. Please remember to smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding that little bell for some notifications, and as always, remember to knuckle up.